Welcome, Joe Volpe, editor of the Corriere Canadese, North America's only Italian-language daily newspaper, on behalf of Go Live TV and Corcan Media Group, today with two very special guests on the municipal elections to be held in Brampton, October 22nd. So immediately to my left, and I think all of you will recognize this individual because we've had him on our show before, Joe Pimentel, councillor, candidate for wards 1 and 5.
Correct.
Right?
That's right.
Local council candidate for the city of Brampton.
Correct.
Joe Pimentel. Did we spell the name right?
You got the name perfectly right.
Okay, perfect. And over to your left, not to indicate political persuasion, is Mario Russo.
Yes, sir.
Mario Russo, that sounds Italian.
That is derived.
Okay, so now you are as well a candidate in Brampton, but you're for regional council.
Correct.
In the same wards, numbers 1 and 5. So here, the two of you, you're in wards 1 and 5, but you're not running against each other.
No, we're not.
You're local and you're regional.
Correct.
So just for the sake of everybody else, regional council, you're going to represent 1 and 5 in regional council of Peel.
Correct, yes.
All right, what are the boundaries for that?
Peel region?
Yeah.
Peel region represents, or it consists of all of Mississauga, all of Brampton, and all of the town of Caledon,
East and west.
east and west.
So you're doing all of that out of wards 1 and 5.
Correct.
Joe, what are you doing if he's representing all that entire place?
I'm busy looking after the interests of the people in 1 and 5 with issues regarding city issues.
Like what, for example?
Well, city issues involve things like the operation and maintenance and snow, the grass cutting, the infrastructure work, transit, all those things.
Well,
Kind of a
including
lower
police.
level. Police is actually at the
Police is a
regional
regional
level.
issue.
Regional level.
So anytime someone has a complaint with public safety, they've got to call Mario Russo.
Well, I mean, the city councillor still represents the constituents of that ward, of those wards. The regional councillor represents the interests of the constituents at the city and the regional level. So, to your point, yes, anything that pertains to police, I am or hope to be the representative.
But do you get to sit at the Brampton City Council as well?
Yes.
So you're there. Can you vote on those issues that relate specifically to Brampton from within City Council?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, in its simplicity is that the way Brampton is set up is that both councillors, both city and regional councillors, represent the interest of those wards within the city of Brampton. The only distinction is that the regional councillor on a certain day will sit at a meeting at regional councillor at Bramalea City Centre.
Yeah, but those regional councillors include all those city councillors in Mississauga.
Correct.
Now, all of them, all 12 of them.
Absolutely.
And those councillors in Mississauga wear two hats. One day, they're councillors for the city of Mississauga, and the other one, they're councillors for the region of Peel.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Brampton has been fighting for greater representation at Peel Region for decades now. It made sense years ago. Mississauga's numbers were significantly larger than Brampton, but as Brampton's numbers have grown, the regional representation has not grown at the same pace.
So how many councillors are there in Peel Regional Council from Mississauga?
12, including the
And
mayor.
how many from Brampton?
7, including the mayor.
So, that's 19, and how many are there from Caledon?
5, including the mayor.
So you've got 24 councillors, including the mayors, but your vote, the regional councillor's vote, is equal to that of the mayor.
Everybody is equal in vote, correct. Each councillor, whether they are from Mississauga, Caledon, Brampton, each vote is equal to 1.
But the advantage for somebody, let's say, from Mississauga is that councillor always knows what he or she thinks the councillor for the region is.
You hope the
Because it's the same person.
Absolutely. You hope the councillor understands what their role is and to be fair and equitable. However, oftentimes people from Mississauga will represent the interest of Mississauga, and I understand that. People from Brampton will tend to represent and hopefully represent the interests of Brampton. The larger scale, though, however, is how do you represent the residents of Peel, but still support and represent your constituents first and foremost. So when you're trying to build proper roadways, proper transit, proper policing, you still have to
Because those are
understand.
jurisdictions that cross those
That's
municipal
right.
boundaries.
Correct.
So I'm not sure which of the models is more advantageous than the other, but as I see it, the councillors from the various municipalities that wear only one hat, and that is the interests of that municipality within Peel, would seem to have an advantage because they're not encumbered by what they have to do locally.
Potentially. I mean, it all depends on how you look at it. I mean, ultimately, I believe, firstly, the way that councillors work together is important. So when you are elected, you are there to represent your constituent. So if the city councillor and regional councillor tend to work well together, I think it's just in the best interest of the constituent regardless.
Well, let's say we don't disagree, but I mean, here's the situation with Joe Pimentel is coming forward, and he's saying, I'm representing the interests of wards 1 and 5 purely and solely in Brampton. So,
Correct.
As a voter, I'm going to say, well, I like Joe Pimentel, but I know he's only going to be talking about issues that are of interest to me as a resident on Main and Queen. I don't have to worry about what's going on in Mississauga. So I talk to him. He's not going to baffle-gap me on stuff that's going on in Mississauga and how he's constrained by those issues or what the guys in Caledon want to do. I don't have to worry about that. Am I right, Joe?
Well, you're right, but the issue is also this: whatever happens in Brampton also affects Peel, and whatever happens in Peel affects those people in Brampton. So there has to be a symbiotic relationship on all issues.
Yeah, but I'm a regular citizen voter. I want to know what you're doing on the four corners around my place.
Sure, and
so I'm not going to go to him for that.
You can go to him for that. Absolutely, you can.
Why?
Because he's also representing the constituents within 1 and 5.
The
interests of the constituents in 1 and 5 at a city level, as I am.
In Peel.
He has all regional councillors have an additional responsibility of sitting at the higher tier. So Brampton has 2 tiers. There's the city government, and then there's the regional government. Regional government looks after the higher tier issues, social issues, welfare issues, police issues, and stuff like that. The city is more focused on the infrastructure issues, operational issues, and things that affect the municipality itself. But there's overlapping issues that affect discussions both at the city council and regional council.
Well, is there going to be a question of resources between the two of you? Yeah, like how much money is going to go to snow removal? Well, he turns around and he says, well, I need that money for the highway that connects us with Caledon and with Mississauga.
They're still different budgets. I mean, really, they are 2 different corporations. One is the corporation of the city of Brampton. One is the corporation of the region of Peel. So they are distinct. There is a distinction of that. The core, though, is that, and the way I like it, I do believe it's the best model, is that we ultimately are representing the constituents of wards 1 and 5. However you look at it, the best interests of 1 and 5 should be at the foremost of any decision that I make. So if it's a city issue, that's the philosophy that I'm going to be using. If it's a regional issue, that is still the philosophy that I'm using. I still have to look a little bit broader sometimes, correct? But it is still in the back of my mind, how does that affect the constituent of Ward 1 and 5?
So let me give you something, a perspective that people deal with all the time. Is that provincially, for example, they have a tendency to vote for one party, and then federally they vote for another party. But they can't make that distinction between the two of you. Like they can't say, well, I know I've got Joe Pimentel for my issues here locally, and then for the other issues, I've got Mario, because it doesn't matter. I need somebody with got one view of the city on one side, and I got somebody else with a different view of the city on the other side. That really doesn't work at the level.
But you don't have to worry about that in the sense, as a constituent, when you call in, you voice your concern. You're hoping that staff will then make that distinction of if it's a regional issue or if it's a city issue, and if it's either or. Certain times, as you point out, is that a city councillor will be stopped in the street and asked a question of regional significance. The city councillor doesn't just say, well, that's not me, I'm having a bad day, and walk away. The city councillor is just going to say, well, you know what, this pertains to a regional perspective. I'm going to have Mario or whomever is the representative call you.
It's going to be Mario.
Right?
That's
well, I'm a little bit biased, but yes, definitely. So that's it's how you work with one another, and that's something that's very important, I think, in all councils, but particularly in Brampton. Brampton has had some struggles over the last few years on relationships within council, regardless of whom is elected. And I think this election is an important one, as many people say at all elections.
Yeah.
But why it is important, I think, is you choose people because they will best represent your interests, and how will they get along with one another? And I think that's important.
Let's stop there for a second, because I've seen the two of you both individually and then combined. You get along with each other?
Absolutely.
No.
That's why you're here today.
That's right, that's
Do you
right.
want to demonstrate to everybody you can't get along?
Well, you know what? We have similar views. I mean, we've grown up in Brampton. We've spent many years there. We've raised our families there. Our kids have gone to school. We've gone to school. We're
you're
actively
still in
involved.
school. You're not that
still in
young.
school. Yeah, I am actually. I mean, we're still actively involved in the community, and there's a passion that goes with the community that it's in your skin. And being a son of immigrant family, I mean, I want to pay back to what Canada's given and allowed my
You're
parents
of
to achieve.
Portuguese
for us.
background, right?
Portuguese heritage, yeah. I was born in the Azores, and my parents came here with very little or nothing, very humble beginnings, worked hard, bought into the Canadian dream, raised their kids, and now it's my turn to do something as well. As I raise my children, as Mario raises his children, we want to also make it a better place for the future. And right now, Brampton is not one of the better places. It's a good city. It's a good city with good people, but there are issues that haven't been addressed because there hasn't been that symmetry on council that's needed, that leadership at council that's required to deal and tackle with some of these issues, the
So
bigger
you're talking
issues.
about actually presenting a duo, a part of a team
Yeah.
that will actually eliminate some of the dysfunctionality.
Well, try to. I mean, if Mario and I are discussing an issue before we go into council, I'd like to believe that if we're elected, we're going to have a robust discussion about what matters most to our constituents, and we would then decide what would better match. I mean, unless it's a controversial issue, I can't see us not aligning on things that matter. We have kind of the similar political ilk background. Right? There are candidates out there that are so extreme from one another. It's going to be interesting how they work together when they get on council. We already have a symmetry. We have similar backgrounds. We have similar beliefs, and we believe in the city of Brampton.
So, but I imagine that everybody else is going to say, I believe in the city of Brampton.
Sure they are, sure. But not all of them have lived there long enough. Not all of them have put in roots long enough. Not all of them have committed themselves to
So
volunteering
you've
in the
been there
community
forever,
long enough.
Since God created Little Green
Pretty
Apples.
much, since Adam and Eve.
And how about you, Mario?
20 years. 20 years I've been raising my family in Brampton. I'm a lifelong Peel resident. I met
You mean
my...
you didn't live in Brampton before?
No, I was in Mississauga before, but I think that's actually valuable. In particular, at sitting at the region is the
As
perspective.
an emigre, okay.
Well, it's the perspective of understanding Mississauga issues, Brampton issues, and now several Caledon issues as they grow as well. But
So let me just interrupt you
Yeah.
a second there, Mary, just so you know. Some of the people that are watching this are saying, how come that Toronto guy is grilling these
That's
people?
right.
Where's Malton in this? Is this in Brampton or in Mississauga?
Malton is technically within the border of Mississauga.
So here's a former Mississauga resident then. Every time I go through Malton, they say Brampton, Malton. I never know whether, maybe it's a schizophrenic personality.
I think it comes from how all the villages came together to form and form regions, the region of Peel. And many people still make that distinction. Brampton fought for that for decades. Is people that live in Bramalea still consider themselves, and especially someone that's been there for a long time, they're Bramalea. They're not Brampton.
I
right?
worked in Bramalea before you guys were born. Now I'm
Yeah.
giving
You're-
away my
yeah.
age. And there it was just a dot on a map, by the way. So, Joe, you've been there for 20 years.
Mario, yes, I've been 20 years. So I've been raising my family there for 20 years. I'm also a business owner downtown Brampton, and I like
What do you
focusing
have?
on
What's the name of the place?
Nom Nom's Yogurt Bar and Fresh Express.
Is that? I don't know where they came. Oh, there. I thought I saw it right there. Was
Yeah.
it close to that last picture?
It is right downtown Brampton. It's at the four corners, at the east-south corner.
So we're not doing free advertising.
No, I just wanted
so you
that.
know.
It was just a plug.
Okay, that's just a plug for
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely.
Okay, all right. So I remember when Brampton used to be called the Garden City, the Rose
Yep.
City. Does it still have the?
The flower, yes,
Yeah.
the title still sticks. I mean, the Flower City is something that's close to the history and the heritage of Brampton. Absolutely.
Well, some of the background that you've seen is all about flowers and bushes and.
Our parklands are beautiful, and we want to maintain them and keep them.
Okay, so I've got with me Mario Russo,
Yes.
and I've got Joe Pimentel. Both of them want to represent wards 1 and 5, and they say they're going to operate as part of a team. Now, is there a particular candidate that to whom you gravitate more than others when it comes to the leadership at council?
Well, okay, firstly, I mean, as a team, one of the things that me and Joe, when we chatted, is we're running our own campaigns. We respect one another, and we will help one another with whatever we can do. But we are running our own campaigns, and I think that's a highlight that we want to, is that when someone's speaking to me at a face-to-face, and you brought up the point as of a regional councillor or a city councillor, there are issues that doesn't matter who is potentially sitting at that table, you need to make that decision. You need to do your own homework as a candidate or potentially as that councillor